Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Maria Yenga. In this tutorial we're gonna be making this beautiful off-shoulder dress with a bow design on the side of the shoulder. To my returning subscribers, thank you so much for tuning in. If you're new here, kindly subscribe and let's get into today's tutorial. Shout out to my TikTok follower Krista who requested for this tutorial. I'm going to be using crepe fabric, olive green color for the bigger part of the dress, and then this beige color or caramel brown color, and this fabric is a little bit stretchy, so let's get into the tutorial. We are going to draft directly to the fabric, so you're going to fold your fabric into two so that we start by drafting the front part of our dress. Fold your fabric into two. Make sure the size of the folding is enough to accommodate your hip size. You can as well go ahead and use any fabric of your choice, guys. We go ahead and mark a straight line at the beginning of our folded fabric, and that straight line will serve as our guideline for this drafting. You can as well skip drawing this straight line here and use your folded fabric, like the starting of the folded fabric, as your guideline. Measure from your shoulder to the bust point. What you get, subtract 4.5 inches, and then when you place your tape measure like this, that's how you subtract your 4.5 inches, like that. And then from the 4.5 inches, mark your bust point measurement, your bust line, like you see me doing, guys. I hope you understand. Again, place your tape measure from the shoulder line to the bust point. What you get, subtract 4.5 inches. And then what you get, you mark it from the straight line downwards to your bust point, guys. And then after, you make a straight line right there. I hope I'm being clear, guys. So guys, in short, the very first line that we made will serve as the chest line, and then this second one is the bust line. Let's move on to the waistline. So moving on, starting with our 4.5 inches left out up there, go ahead and place your meter and then measure your waistline. Where you want your waist to be. I went ahead and marked mine as 16 inches. Go ahead and use your body measurements from your upper part to the waistline. Go ahead and use your measurements and mark it right there. And then after, go ahead and mark a straight line. So we are going to go ahead and mark the hip line of our dress, but my method of achieving the hip line, I start from the waistline going down to measure the hip line. If you want to use the other method of starting from where we started from up there at the chest line, go ahead and use that and mark your hip line. But my results come out better when I start from the waistline going down, and then my hip line was 11 inches from the waistline, and then we go ahead and mark a straight line right there. Now we are going to mark the full length of our dress. Don't forget the 4.5 inches from up there that we left out. Go ahead and place your meter starting from the 4.5 inches that we left out, and then mark the full length of your dress from the chest line downwards to where you want your dress to end. I marked 50 inches because I want mine to be a three-quarters dress. I don't want it to be fully long, like to the toes or ankles. I want it to be between the ankle and the knees. Then get your ruler and draw a straight line at the point where you've marked, and that will mark the full hem of our dress. Don't forget to add the hem allowance. Back to the upper part of our dress. Now we are going to go ahead and divide your round chest measurement. Divide it by 4, and what you get, mark it on that beginning line, that first line that we called the chest line. Go ahead and mark your round chest measurement divided by 4. What you get, mark it right there, and then add 1 inch for sewing allowance. Guys, remember my fabric can stretch a little bit, so if your fabric doesn't stretch, don't forget to add some little allowance for breathing, you know. So we go ahead to the bust line. Go ahead and get your round bust measurement divided by 4. What you get, mark it right there, and then add 1 inch for sewing allowance. If your fabric doesn't stretch, add some like 2 inches, 1 inch for allowance and 1 inch for sewing allowance. I hope you understand, guys. If you don't understand, the comment section is there. I'll be ready to answer. So from the bust line, we are going to go up by 1.5 inches, guys, so that we can create our armhole. Remember, this is a half dress, so we need an armhole. So go ahead and go up by 1.5 inches, and then get your round bust measurement. In fact, the inches that you've marked on your bust line there, go ahead and mark it right there, plus that 1 inch for allowance, mark it right there. Next, we are going to add 1.5 inches to create our armhole curve. Go ahead and from those inches that you've marked on that new line, new point, go ahead and add 1.5 inches, and then go ahead and mark a curve right there to connect the points from the chest line to that point that you've just created, like you see me doing, guys. I hope you understand. If your fabric doesn't stretch, you will have to create a dart, but mine stretches, so I didn't create a dart. We go on to the waistline and then mark your round waist measurement divided by 4. What you get, add 1 inch for sewing allowance and mark it right there. Mine was 7 inches, and then I added 1 inch for sewing allowance, which made 8. Go ahead and mark it right there. So we get our ruler and we connect these 2 points from the armhole curve there to the waistline. Go ahead and mark your straight line from the armhole to the waist. But always keep it in mind that our bodies are not straight, so I'm going to show you what we are going to do about not being straight. So let's continue to the next level. From the waistline, we are going to go ahead. Since I didn't label my lines, let me first tell you that the first line is the chest line, and then next is the bust line. That is the bust line, then that is the waistline, and then that is the hip line. Then the last one where you don't sit down there is the hemline. So go ahead and mark your round hip measurement divided by 4. What you get, add 1 inch and then mark it right there. Round hip measurement divided by 4. What you get, add 1 inch for sewing allowance and mark it right there. Now we get a ruler and connect from the waistline to the hip line that we've just made, that point. Go ahead and mark a straight line from the waistline to the hip line. But our bodies are not straight, so what I promised is this. Go ahead and curve it in like you see me doing those points. Go ahead and curve it in. Make a little curve to make your waist curve, you know, and the hip curve. So because our bodies are not straight. So let's continue to the next part, the lower part of our dress. So guys, from the hip line, we get our tape measure and mark 5 inches. Because we want to make the hip illusion, I think it's called the hip illusion, go ahead and mark 5 inches downwards. If you don't want your dress to be pencil-like or to have that hip illusion, the question mark on the dress, go ahead and mark from the hip going downwards like straight. But if you want to have that illusion, the curvy illusion, go ahead and mark 5 inches downwards like you see me doing. And then after marking the 5 inches point, go ahead and make a straight line at the point that you've just made. Please, if you want your dress to be straight, go ahead and mark a straight line from the hip going downwards to the full hem. The same inches you've put on the hip line, go ahead and mark it down there. But now look carefully, watch carefully. From the point that you've just, at the point that you've just marked, go ahead and measure the round hip measurement divided by 4. Round hip measurement divided by 4. What you get, don't add any inches. If your round hip measurement is 40, divide it by 4, you will get 10. If you get 10 inches, come ahead and mark 10 inches right there. No sewing allowance at this point. Please, if you don't understand, rewind this video a little bit and understand. Don't add any sewing allowance so that you can get that hip illusion. and then mark it right there. I hope you understand. Round hip measurement divided by 4, what you get, mark it right there at the new line that you've just created. And then the same measurement that you've just put at that new point, go ahead and mark it at the full hem of your dress. If you want that illusion, that pencil-like illusion, go ahead and mark it right there, and then connect it with a straight line. Get your ruler and connect it with a straight line. Now that you've done creating this straight line, I emphasized that our bodies are not straight, guys. Nobody is straight. So we are going to go ahead and mark curves. You curving inwards at the hip line, inwards, and then at that new point there, outwards, like you see me doing. At the hip point, go ahead and curve from the inside, like that. And then outwards at that new point where we want our, curvy illusion to come from. We are done drafting our front part of the dress, so we get our scissor and then you cut out the draft like you see me doing. Guys, follow how I am cutting so that you can cut perfectly. We are going to start from the chest line. You cut out the other part that you don't want, like you see me cutting, and then you go downwards, cut out your front part of the dress, and then we go on to the next level. So guys, I hope these are the results you also have after cutting out the front part of your dress. Moving on, we go ahead to fold our fabric into 2 so we can cut out the back part of our dress. Go ahead and fold your fabric into 2. Make sure it's large enough to accommodate this front part that we've just cut out, and then plus some 2 inches or 3 inches for the zipper allowance. Like we did with our front part of the dress, we go ahead and mark a straight line that will serve as a starting point or guideline or chest line for our back pattern, guys. Go ahead and mark that straight line there, and then we go on. So you get your tape measure from the folded part of your fabric. Go ahead and mark 2 inches or 1.5 inches or 3 inches. That will serve as the zipper allowance. Go ahead and mark those inches. I marked 1.5 inches downwards from that starting line, going downwards to the full length of your dress. And then after you get your ruler and mark a straight line right there. Now you get the part that you cut out as our front part of the dress, and then place it like you see me doing, starting from those 2 lines, the starting line, the chest line, and then the zipper line that you've just marked going downwards. Make sure you place it properly, and if you're using crepe fabric or any fabric that can easily move, we are going to pin it. So carefully place it like you see me doing. Guys, carefully place the front part of the dress there, and then get your pins, and then you pin it together, the front part that you cut out, and then place it on the fabric that you've just placed right there. Go ahead and carefully put the pins so that you can secure your fabrics together if they can easily move. If they don't easily move, well and good, go ahead and cut out the way you want. As always, guys, if you have any questions, kindly put it in the comment section. I'll always be there to respond to your questions. So don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Please don't forget to like this video. Now guys, we get our ruler and extend our waistline to the back fabric like you see me doing, and then the hip line as well. Go ahead and extend it towards the back pattern or back part of the dress like you see me doing. So guys, from that line that you've extended at the waistline of the back part of the fabric, go ahead and mark 1 inch or half an inch from the inwards. Mark 1 inch or half an inch inwards, and then sorry, the camera wasn't showing well and I didn't know it wasn't recording, but you can see where my fingers are going. Go ahead and make a straight line from that part that you've marked, going upwards to the end of the fabric, to the upper part of the fabric, and then downwards to the hip line. Go ahead and mark that from that part you've just marked, going to the hip line like you see me showing you guys. That is to prevent the bagginess of the zipper if you're to put your zipper on the back of the dress. But if you're not going to put, even if you're not going to put it on the back part of your dress, you can put it so that you prevent the bagginess of your dress at the back. Now we are done drafting the back part of our dress as well, so we go ahead and get our scissor and cut out what we have to cut out. Cut out the excess fabric from the starting point. Remember, we marked a straight line up there. If you didn't, don't worry. Sorry, the camera wasn't showing there as well, but you know what I'm talking about. So go ahead and cut out everything following that front part of the dress that you placed on the fabric. Go ahead and cut out carefully so that they can be equal. And then this other side, go ahead and cut it out following the directions of the marks that you've just made. I forgot to mention that we shall be having a slit on our dress, so the zipper allowance down there, we shall have some allowance for the slit. So you go ahead and split it. So at the back of your dress you will have two pieces. Guys, now you go ahead and remove your pins. After removing your pins, you will see that if you remove the front part of your dress and open it up, you'll see that you have one large piece for the front that will be enough to fit your front part of the dress. And then the back part has two pieces. The two pieces which have the slit and zipper allowance if you're to put the zipper at the back, guys. Moving on, we are going to cut out our facing for the armhole. Go ahead and get your excess fabric, fold it into two. We are going to cut two pieces at the same time because in this case we have four sides for the armholes. So you're going to go ahead and fold your fabric into two. Get that piece of the armhole. This is the easiest way. I'm minding about that part that is, shorter. So go ahead and place it like you see me doing. Place it and leave some space on all sides, guys, because we are cutting out two pieces at the same time. Go ahead and place that fabric on that folded fabric carefully because it can easily move. Remember, this is crepe. If your fabric doesn't move, well and good. So go ahead and place it perfectly well, carefully. And then after, you're going to get your scissor and cut out that part following the armhole curve that you have. Go ahead and cut it out carefully. Now we get our tape measure and then we place it from like how we make the flare skirt, anything circle. Go ahead and mark 2.5 inches following the armhole curve on that small fabric that you've just cut. Go ahead and mark 2.5 inches. Ignore the first line, it was a mistake. Go ahead and mark a straight line at the points that you've just created to make a curve so that your facing can be equal. Go ahead and mark it right there, and then after you cut it out, and that will be all. So after cutting out, you will have two pieces, and then you will use those two pieces to place on another fabric that is folded into two so that you cut out other two pieces. Then you will have four facing for four parts of the armhole. Moving on, we pull out our back part of the dress and then we are going to separate these two pieces. Because we have two pieces, we are going to separate them, and then you will get your first part of the facing and then place it on the armhole curve like you see me doing, right sides facing each other, and then go ahead and make a stitch right there of 0.25 inches or 0.75 inches, and then do the same for the other parts of the armhole, and then we continue to the next part. Now you can get your other fabric, be it white, any color that you want that will match well with your lower part of the dress. Now in this case I used this caramel brown or beige, I don't know what exactly it's called, forgive me. Fold your fabric into two, like you see me doing, guys. Get your tape measure and measure your round shoulder measurement, and then what you get, you mark it right there. That will be the full length of this piece that you've just folded into two. Round shoulder measurement, guys. I'm going to pin a photo up there of how you can measure your round shoulder measurement, and then you mark the length that you've just got on this fabric that you've just folded into two. What you get, you add 1 inch for sewing allowance. Mine was 40, I added 1 inch to make 41. At the end sides of this folded fabric, go ahead and mark 5 inches because it's on fold. Go ahead and mark 5 inches, guys, and then get the middle of this fabric. If your round shoulder measurement is 40 inches plus 1 inch, that is 41. Go ahead and divide it into two. Mine was 20.5 inches when I divided into two. So get your round shoulder measurement plus the 1 inch for sewing allowance, and then divide it into two. Mark the middle of that fabric. From the middle of that fabric that you've just marked, go ahead and mark from up. Go ahead and mark 7 inches or 7.5 inches. The half inch will be for sewing allowance, so go ahead and mark 7.5 inches. And then after, you're going to get your ruler and connect the 3 points from the end to the middle and then to the other end of the fabric. Guys, don't forget that the two end parts of this fabric are equal, 5 inches. Then the middle is 7 inches. So go ahead and connect them with the straight line with your ruler like you see me doing, guys. So we shall have a V shape on our cutout. And then after that, you get your scissor and cut out this fabric that you've just drafted. Next, we are going to go ahead and cut out our piece. Please, it's not supposed to be on fold. Go ahead and mark 18 or 19 inches by 11 inches. Go ahead and mark those inches. 11 inches by 18 inches. We are going to cut out our third piece for our shoulder design. So we are going to go ahead and fold our fabric into two, and then unfold. It must be 60 inches long. Guys, 60 inches long to achieve the perfect band or design or tie for our bow design. So go ahead and fold your fabric into two, and then I folded it into 4 here just for the purpose of this tutorial, because you know at 60 inches long it wasn't visible in the camera. So go ahead and fold your fabric into 2 and then 60 inches long. So at the end of this folded fabric, at the open end, go ahead and mark 5 inches wide, and then at the other folded part, go ahead and mark 2.5 inches or 3 inches, guys. At the open end, 5 inches. At the closed end or folded end, or in the middle of your band, the one you're cutting, if you haven't folded it, go ahead and mark 2.5 inches, please. I hope you understand. For any questions, kindly ask me. And then draw a straight line to connect the 2 points and blend it in perfectly, and then you cut it out like you see me doing. So now, guys, we continue to get our hairstay and the other rectangular piece that we cut out, the one with 11 by 18 inches, and then you cut the hairstay according to the size of that piece. Cut it out and then you iron it onto that fabric. This is for the purpose of making our piece harder to achieve the bow design when you fold it. So go ahead and iron it onto. So guys, I'm going to end this video right here so that we don't make it so long. I'm going to post the next video and it will be for sewing this beautiful dress. Thank you so much for watching. Kindly subscribe, like, comment and share. I'll see you in the next video that is for sewing this dress. Bye. Thank you for watching.